Unlock. Lock. Hey, what's going on, guys? So today I'm going to put on the dually rear light that goes right here. You can see that I've got a plastic panel in place on mine because my F350 is the single rear wheel. Dualies come with the 3 lights along the back. I jumped on Amazon and bought a LED light to put here that's the same size, and then I got a cool wiring harness from Rich over at Limitless Autoworks. His shop makes some awesome wiring harnesses, and they have kind of gotten a reputation for making it really easy to buy their stuff and it be as plug and play as possible to add lights to your truck. So let's go check it out. Alright, so here's what I got from Limitless, the wiring harness that he sent me. Now I say he sent me, I paid for this. And his stuff's not cheap, but his work is good and his harnesses look great. So I think everyone agrees that they're worth the cost. So as you can see here, there's a ground and a power pin, and then the other side is going to have a connector that connects to the factory light, which the light I got on Amazon is not a Ford OEM light, but it says it's got a plug that's compatible with it. Okay, so here's the Limitless harness for the rear light, and here's the light that I got off Amazon. The light off Amazon said that it was compatible with the factory OEM plug, so this should connect to here, and when I lined it up earlier, there we go, it slides on that way. Now I'm not going to click it in, but it looks like it fits. There's 2 pinholes, 2 pins in here, and it feels good. So I think that's a success. This light's compatible with the harness, and the ground will be easy to attach to the frame. And this pin was set up to easily take the plug that's on the back end of the frame and take the plug apart, knock out a new hole where this pin would be from the factory if you had this light built originally in your truck. And we're just taking advantage of that factory design, adding this pin into the plug, and then that will power our light. And then this is a feature of this specific light that I bought on Amazon. It says this is the wire for the LED brake light. There is a brake light wire on the back end of the truck that's used for like camper toppers or something that have a light on them, a brake light. So I'm hoping that if I can find that wire, then I can just attach that to this instead of using their splicing thing, and I can get the brake light to work as well. So let's try it out. Just need a T30 bit to get this off. That feels like it's snapped in, so I'm going to look at it from the back side and see what it looks like. Okay, so I'm under the truck now. Here's the hole where you raise and lower the spare tire, and if you look right above this, this is the back side of that plastic cover that we're taking off, and it looks like there's just a little small clip here holding it in, and that was correct. I pinched the little tabs right here, and the cover fell forward, just like that. So you can see in the last video, looking under the bumper when we took the plastic cover off, that I had a couple fused power blocks up under the bumper. So I'm going to use these handy alligator clips. I'm going to go under there, attach this to 12 volt power, attach this to this pin, and I'm going to ground this and see if the light comes on. So I just want to make sure the light works before I install it. Also, I'm going to look for that brake wire that I can use to attach to this to activate the brake light on this. So let's go see what's under the truck. Let's see what we can find. Okay, so I think I found a great way to get the brake function on the dual rear wheel light that I bought to work. So it could just light up in general with the connection over here. So I will give the light power from the extra pin that I'm connecting in here. But then for the brake function, I found if you look up in this corner of the truck over here. Now I've added some wires, but regardless, up above the cluster of factory wires that's already here, there is a yellow-blue wire. This guy that's blunt cut terminated, just like the upfitter switches up in the cab or under the hood. And here it says YE/BU high mount stop. So this is the yellow-blue wire. This is intended to add a third brake light to a camper shell on the truck, or to maybe a trailer if you wired this into your trailer plug. So this will activate a brake light. So this is perfect for me to use to activate the brake light on my new light over here. So what I'll do is get some 18 gauge wire and use some heat shrink solder to connect it here. And I'll run this yellow-blue wire across over to here and attach it, add a fuse, and then on the other side I will attach that tiny red wire that is the brake function for the light that we're adding up here. So that's how the brake will work, and then the pin from the Limitless side will go over here and connect into this plug right here. And then the ground will come over here, and there's two factory grounds on the driver's side frame. Right now the only things that I've got here are the factory ground, and then I added the ground for my ARB pressure control module, and I'm going to add another ground ring for the Limitless kit for this rear light. Alright, so I went ahead and snapped on the plug from the Limitless harness, and then I took the harness as well as the red wire that signals the brake, and I passed both of them through the hole where that plastic plug was that held on the trim piece that was here before the light. So ran it through. Now I'm going to hold this up, line it up, and get my screws back in. Alright, it's not screwed on tight, but I just put the screws in just enough to hold the light there. Now I've passed the wires through the hole, so I'm going to go under to the back side and test it out real quick and see if it works before I finalize the connections. Alright, so just to test the light, I went and plugged it into the same circuit that runs these amber lights down here, and it comes on. I like it more than the dots that are the OEM light. I like just the red LED light bar across there. Okay, so now I took the red wire that's the brake signal, and I've alligator clipped it to this yellow-blue wire, the high mount stop wire. So now I'm going to have my wife jump in the truck, put it on accessory, hit the brake, and see if this brake signal turns on the brake light back here as well. Okay, so that's no brake, hit the brake, no brake, hit the brake, no brake, hit the brake. Cool, thank you. There are no additional lights back here. It just gets brighter when you hit the brake. It's hard to kind of see it on the camera. It doesn't really come through very well, but when my wife hit the brake, this just got a little bit brighter. So to remove this plug was easy. Squeeze right here, pull that way. When you squeeze this, it lifts up the little plastic tab off the hook right here. So that was super easy to get off. Then we've got to take out this plastic piece here to add our new pin. To get this out, found that I could use a 5/64 screwdriver, flathead, and let me show you what I did. There's these little holes here and here, and you can see a gap between the green part at the bottom and the white part, which is this. So if you stick the flat part of the screwdriver in here and just kind of pull up a little bit on both sides, a little bit at a time, you can just gently push this white cap out of the plug. I routed the wire across the top, kind of following the other factory wire that comes down to this plug, and the red one is the Limitless one. And one tip I have, you'll see in A-Rod's video when he was messing with this, the pins on the inside for him were rotating. So when you take this out, just slide it back in just a little bit. Slide it back in just like this. Don't click it in, but just hold it there. And then while you're moving this around and pushing in the other pin, this keeps the fins on this plastic cap, keeps those square pins inside from rotating. But I use that to puncture the backside of this connector where there was nothing in that number 18 pinhole for the red wire. So I punched through from this backside and then slid the wire in, and you can see I made sure the orientation was correct to match all the others, 18 is looking at the view here. It's the third down on the left. 1, 2, 3. So it's this top left one right here is what I just added. And now I'm gonna snap this cover back on. And now this is good to connect back up here. If you don't have one of these pin Christmas tree clip removal tools, grab one of these on Amazon. They're awesome. I used it just to reach up here and pop this out. So much better than a screwdriver because you don't cause damage to your clips. So I'm going to put the clip back in, snap this back on to here, and then zip tie up my wires and move on to the brake wire. I like these heat shrink solder connectors. These are so easy to use. So this white one says it's for 26 to 24 gauge wire. It's pretty tiny, but the brake line, that yellow-blue wire, and the brake wire that came with the light that I bought on Amazon, they both look like they're like 24 or smaller. They're pretty small wires, so this should work great to connect the two. And when I do this, some people use a flame or like a torch. I like to use a heat gun that I got from Harbor Freight along with a deflector shield that's kind of a U shape, so that gets a lot of distributed heat across kind of the entire connector all at once on both sides, and I feel like it does a better job of melting everything evenly without like melting a hole in one like specific spot on the plastic or any of your rubber connectors. So as I'm about to wire up this red brake line from the red brake wire for the light, I decided what I want to do is pull it back out and wrap some Tessa tape around the red wire to protect it a bit, because I don't like that it's just a thin wire with thin insulation sitting on this piece of metal right here. So I'm going to pull it off, do that, we'll be right back. So what I decided to do to protect this red brake wire sitting on top of the piece of metal there is heat shrink. And then I'll put some tape around it, some Tessa tape, and then I'll reinstall the light. And here's that Harbor Freight heat gun I was talking about with the adapter on the end that I just bent a little bit to make a nice heat reflector that works great for all the heat shrink tubing and solder connections, things like that. Okay, so now with the heat shrink on and then some Tessa tape on, now I'm going to add 1/4 inch split tubing. Well, I've got to backtrack my idea a little bit because I went to slide this in and realized that when the wire loom comes up this far, the width of these two, of this wire and this plug next to each other, that width is bigger than the width of that hole. Plan B is take the loom off down to like here. Okay, I removed a little bit of the loom. It made the plug area a little bit more narrow and it fit through the hole. So I've got this screwed back down, gonna go under and finish on the back. So I took the yellow-blue wire from the back side of the truck that was labeled center high stop, and I extended it with some 18 gauge wire using my heat shrink connectors. Got heat shrink on the yellow-blue wire connected to my 18 gauge extension. Time to wrap it in some wire loom. Alright, I got the dual rear wheel brake light and running light plugged in. So this is the plug for just the running light. This is the red wire that was for the brake light. So the red wire for the brake light goes to this fused circuit. The rear brake red wire is connected here, and this side is connected all the way over to the red-yellow, you can't see it anymore, but it's up there, the red-yellow center high stop light. So that, when you hit the brake pedal, sends a signal to this, which passes through to the brake, makes it brighter. Otherwise, the plug itself up here, this regular plug, connects via the Limitless pin into this connector in pin 18. There's the red wire coming in. So it's all hooked up, should be good to go. Let's go test it out. Oh, and one more thing. You don't need a 15 amp fuse for something like this. I'm going to drop this down to a 1 amp fuse once my shipment comes in. So I only have the 15 in there just temporarily. Well, like any project, you end up with a pile of tools on the floor when you're done, but out with the old, in with the new. I'm pretty excited about it. Okay, if I did this right, the light will come on when I hit the lock button.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
It's not a very good demo.
Oh wait, let me try the unlock button.
Still no.
Okay, I figured out why that didn't work when I hit the lock button. I forgot to connect the ground. Oops.
Straight, and so I feel
Okay,
like
got the
it
grounds all
strengthens
connected.
your back muscles.
This is the ARB pressure control ground, factory ground, and the new ground for the rear light. Okay, so if this works, when you hit unlock, the light should come on. Unlock. Boom. It looks awesome. Unlock. Lock.